All right, good afternoon, all. I'm just going to wait just a few seconds whilst we let a few people in from the lobby, and then we will make a start. Right, I think we are pretty much there. Right, well, good afternoon, all. Thank you very much for joining me today to listen to a relatively brief presentation on our Sumatra and Borneo expedition cruise series, obviously with Coral Expeditions. My name is Will. I'm a member of the sales team. I'm based in pretty miserable, wet and rainy Brisbane, but our head office is based up in Cairns and has been for the last 40 years. Many of you either joining us in Sumatra and Borneo or contemplating your options have probably cruised with Coral Expeditions previously. But it's just to give you a bit of a brief overview of kind of who we are and our particular style of small ship expedition cruising. And so right away, look, for 40 years, and we've been in business now for 40 years, we've operated with one purpose, basically, which is to take small groups of like-minded explorers to really kind of remote places with expert guidance and that kind of warm Australian hospitality. Many of you might know, but we are 100% Australian owned. We cruise under the Australian flag, and we have an almost exclusive Australian crew on board, admittedly with a sprinkling of Kiwis amongst them. And so what is the expedition experience with Coral Expeditions? Well, firstly, yeah, it's about discovering unique and remote destinations and cultures, and nowhere is that more kind of applicable than these, stunning itineraries that we're going to be covering today. It's about maximizing your time ashore. We're well aware that you spent a considerable amount of money to experience these expedition cruises, and very different to kind of the big ship cruise lines out there where the ship is the destination. It's all about taking you to these remote wilderness, tropical islands and atolls, cultures and communities, and maximizing your time actually spent enjoying those destinations rather than the ship itself. That being said, the ship is a beautiful kind of onboard experience, but I'll come on to that later shortly. So it's about maximizing your time ashore. We do this with 2 shore excursions daily outside of our sea days, and it's based quite heavily on our explorer tenders that you can see on the screen there, but I'm going to go into far more detail on that shortly. And it's about sharing in the expert knowledge of our expedition crew and our guest lecturers and connecting and learning along the way. So all of our trips, both domestic and into international waters, have guest lecturers on board, and they've been chosen for their specific local knowledge and specific to the destinations in which we cruise. And it's all about engaging with local communities and cultures, and again, very, very applicable to all 3 of the itineraries that we're going to be focusing on today. And we do this in true expedition style, small groups and no waiting. Again, a very, very different prospect from some of the big ship cruise lines out there. I'm going to come on to our ship and the fleet shortly. But we've got 3 ships in the Coral Expedition fleet, maximum guest capacity of 120 guests on board, and we can on and off board our entire ship's complement in under 15 minutes. And we do that using those explorer tenders that I mentioned just now, that you can see just off the back of the ship there. And we lower those into the water off that hydraulic platform you can see. And it means that we can on and off board our entire ship's complement in under 15 minutes, which again means there's absolutely no, there's no queuing, there's no waiting. You don't have an allocated shore excursion time. You're onto those explorers, off, and then again, it means that we can maximize your time in the destinations that you've chosen to visit. And we do these with expert guidance on board. So I've mentioned our guest lecturers, which I'll come on to shortly, but all of our trips again have numerous expedition teams on board. For any of you who have cruised with us in the Kimberley or Cape York and Arnhem Land, you'll probably recognize Ian Morris on the left-hand side of the screen there. But they're highly experienced expedition team, and they accompany you on all shore excursions on all of our itineraries, not just the one that we're going to be or the 3 that we're going to be focusing on today. So the onboard guest experience. Look, As mentioned, we're Australian owned. We sail under the Australian flag, and we have a predominantly, pretty much exclusively Australian crew. So we offer that very kind of, warm, relaxed, informal style of onboard hospitality. There's no assigned seating during meal times. There's no dressing for dinner. And we actively encourage, an open interaction between our guests and crew. And for any of you who have cruised with Coral previously, you're going to be more than aware of that kind of, onboard experience, Australian style onboard experience that we offer, no matter we cruising in the Kimberley, Tasmania, or again, beyond into international waters. The whole onboard experience is based around two main things. The delicious kind of food and wine experience, and the full schedule of lectures and presentations from our kind of guest lecturer and expedition leader team. So it's an all-inclusive product. All of your meals on board are included. Breakfast is a hot and cold buffet style. Lunch again has hot and cold options as well. And then dinner is more of a kind of an a la carte style. So your dinner selections are usually selected during lunch service. So again, the kitchens and the chefs are prepared, ready for full dinner service. Alcoholic drinks during lunch and dinner, and again, very, very generous servings of alcoholic drinks during lunch and dinner service come included. But any drinks, alcoholic drinks that is, outside of lunch and dinner service would come at an additional cost. We've got loads of both in and outdoor kind of public areas for you to kind of sit back and enjoy that, the stunning vistas drift by, usually with a cheeky gin and tonic or glass of Chardonnay in hand. And it's the perfect way when you come back from your daily excursions, which are usually 2 to 3 hours in length each time, twice a day. So outside of your excursions and outside of your the free meal times on board, there's the downtime you have, there's plenty of public areas that you can kind of sit back and just watch the beautiful views drift by. The guest lecturers, as I've mentioned, we run a full schedule of lectures and presentations specific, obviously, to the destination in which you cruise, and the aim being that prior to arriving at an area of outstanding beauty or a particular cultural experience that we're going to enjoy, the amazing flora, fauna opportunities. The aim is that we kind of forearm you so you can really kind of immerse yourself in the excursion and build those kind of relationships and enjoy that experience, being armed by that kind of real expert knowledge that we've provided to you prior to arrival at said event. Oh, sorry. So just moving on to, apologies, to possibly the most important part of this presentation, and certainly if you take anything away from this presentation, it's probably going to be the following couple of slides. And these are our highly unique explorer tenders. These have been designed and built by Coral Expeditions. They are 100% unique to Coral Expeditions, and they provide the perfect conduit between our motherships and the really kind of diverse and varied wilderness remote destinations, which is where we predominantly visit. You'll see on the screen some of the highlights of them, but just to point out a couple. So firstly, they can fit up to 72 guests on board at any one time. On Coral Geographer and Coral Adventurer, our two larger ships in the Coral fleet, we have 2 explorer tenders on board, so there's going to be plenty of space on board. They have a roof. This is particularly crucial in hot tropical waters, which again, very applicable to the 3 destinations or itineraries we're covering today. So they protect you from the elements, the baking tropical sun. Imagine being on Zodiac inflatables for hours at a time. The enjoyment is going to wane very, very quickly. So having a sunroof or a rain roof on occasions is particularly crucial. We've got a toilet on board for that kind of remote convenience as well. And this might not sound like a big deal, but again, particularly in some of the more kind of remote wilderness areas that we're going to be accessing on these trips, it avoids the need to constantly run back and forth between said locations and the mothership for those kind of regular toilet breaks, basically. And as you can see from the top left-hand side of the screen there, they're purpose built to access areas that have limited or absolutely no kind of harbour facilities. So both beach landings, wet and dry. So the top left-hand image there is what we would probably call a dry beach landing. We've got those kind of landing craft ramps that drop down on the front, and they're flat bottom, so we can get really close to these beaches. It's an easy, no steps or ladders to contend with. It's an easy on and off boarding procedure, and it means that we can really, provide that kind of true expedition experience. The top right-hand image you'll see on the screen there is the boarding process. So this is whilst it's on the hydraulic platform, we bring it up to one of the main decks. And again, it's just a level, flat walk. There's no steps, there's no ladders to contend with. You're not having to jump into a Zodiac bouncing in the ocean next door to the ship. And then the bottom image there on the right-hand side is the hydraulic platform. So we get you to board. Everybody sits down, and then the explorer is just gently lowered into the water, and then away we go on our excursion. And then in reverse, obviously for the boarding procedure, we just pull up next to that hydraulic platform, and it raises us up to one of the main decks, and then away you go. You're just stepping straight back onto the ship. So it's a really kind of unique to coral expeditions. It's definitely one of our key selling points, and it means that we can really provide that true expedition experience. And it doesn't matter if you're 21 or 81, you're not going to miss out on those kind of expedition experiences. That being said, on all of our itineraries from Kimberley to Tasmania and Australian domestic waters, right up through the Asia Pacific region, which is where Coral Expeditions cruises, we pair those unique explorer tenders with the more traditional Zodiac inflatables. And where applicable, we use them in conjunction with each other. And it means that you guys, as our guests, can kind of pick and choose, how adventurous or not you want to be on a day-by-day or case-by-case region. What I will say with Zodiacs, I've spent many an hour on Zodiacs. The enjoyment is fantastic when you're there for that first 10, 15, 20 minutes. But the reason the explorer tenders, come into their own is those hot tropical waters. You can imagine being sitting on the side of that Zodiac here on the screen in 40-degree heat. When you're going off an excursion or cruising through the rivers, creeks and coastlines of some of the places that we visit, the enjoyment can very rapidly wane. And so that's why we found that pairing them with those explorer tenders and the more traditional Zodiac inflatables allows you guys to, pick and choose how adventurous you want to be, but it means that we provide that, true small ship expedition experience. We've also got, again, where applicable, so multitude of snorkeling opportunities throughout all three of these trips that we're going to be focusing on today. So the vast majority of the destinations we go to, Coral offer snorkeling and scuba diving, which I'll come on to shortly. If you've cruised with us in the Kimberley, which is at the core of what Coral Expeditions does, snorkeling and scuba diving options are highly limited for the obvious reasons of marine stingers, but more importantly the large saltwater crocodiles that frequent the area. But as you can see on the screen there, they double up as a perfect scuba and snorkel platform. So moving on to scuba opportunities, all three ships in the Coral Expeditions fleet have full scuba dive facilities on board. We have dive masters on board, again, for those trips where we offer scuba diving. It is an optional extra, so that scuba diving doesn't come included in your existing fare, whereas I must say that snorkeling opportunities absolutely do so. So if you're a keen and qualified scuba diver and you're interested in these trips, please let us know, or get your travel agent to let us know at the time of booking, so we can guarantee you a scuba spot on board. There are potential opportunities as well. So if you do want to give scuba diving a bit of a try and you're not qualified, again, it's all subject to availability, but we do try and provide a bit of an intro, I suppose, to scuba diving. We're not going to take you down to 18 meters or anything like that. It will tend to be in a shallow, flat, sandy, protected bay, and take you down, a couple of meters, so you can kind of experience it. But again, plenty of scuba dive opportunities, across all three of these itineraries that we're going to be covering today. So onto the Coral Expeditions fleet. So I've mentioned a few times, we've only got three ships in the Coral fleet. They are all purpose-built expedition ships that are designed to sail in our sweet spot, which is the kind of tropical and subtropical waters, of which Sumatra and Borneo obviously falls very much within those two areas. The ship that we're going to be utilizing for all three of the cruises, cruise itineraries that we're going to be covering today is our newest vessel, Coral Geographer. So she was launched in late 2021. So we're only, coming up for 4 years old now. She has a maximum guest capacity of 120 guests on board at any one time. I'm not going to go into too much detail on the ship. If you'd like far more information, please jump onto our genuinely excellent website where we have, full detailed ship layouts, lots of images of the various different cabins. But all you really need to know at this stage is maximum capacity, as I've mentioned, 120 spread across 60 staterooms. All of our staterooms are outward facing. So at the bare minimum, you'll see on the screen there, you'll have porthole windows in your cabin with our lead-in cabin category. But as you can see from the image, many of our cabins come with private balconies as well. So there's going to be an option to hopefully suit all budgets and kind of personal requirements. All of our cabins are en suite. And like I say, they are absolutely purpose-built to sail in tropical waters and provide that kind of, true expedition experience. And you'll see there's a multitude of both in and outdoor public areas that you can kind of just sit back when you get back from excursion and enjoy the world drift by. So without further ado, getting to the kind of feature of today, I just wanted to introduce our guest speaker today, Nikki Henderson. So Nikki is a member of our product team based up in sunny Cairns head office. Nikki has, lived, worked, traveled extensively through, the wider kind of Indonesian region and islands of Indonesia. And she's going to be providing hopefully a little bit of knowledge on some of the the major highlights of the three itineraries that we're going to be covering today. What I will say is that this is not going to be an exhaustive day-by-day presentation on what you're going to be seeing and doing. We've cherry-picked some of the highlights. If we were going to do a full day-by-day, we would be here for absolutely hours on end. There's so much that's been packed into all three of these itineraries. So it's really just to give you a little bit of a snapshot. If you've got any questions, concerns, queries, again, please feel free to reach out to our Cairns-based team or get your travel agents to do so on your behalf, and we're more than happily answer as many queries as we can. So look, thank you very much for joining us today, Nikki.
Thank you, Will, very much, and hello to everybody. Thanks for taking the time to come and listen to the fantastic locations and experiences that you can have across Indonesia.
Cool. Look, without further ado, we're going to move on to our first featured itinerary today. So it's called an equatorial adventure across North Borneo. So it's 16 nights, Manila to Singapore, departing in November later this year, and again on our newest ship, Coral Geographer. So look, over to you, Nikki, and we'll get going.
Thank you very much, Will. Okay, so Manila to Singapore. This is, all the voyages are interesting. This one particularly, I think, because we travel through the Philippines, we travel through Sumatra and Borneo, we travel through Brunei, and we travel through Sarawak and Borneo as well before we have quite a long haul over to Singapore to finish the voyage. Both locations, Singapore and Manila, very accessible, easy to get to through flights. So you've got plenty of great connectivity there. I think the last year was our first foray into the Philippines, and a very, very successful voyage we had. We ran 2 trips last year, and that gave us a confidence just knowing what an incredible destination it is and how varied it is to offer another program. And so we've got the Manila to Singapore. So this voyage here, there isn't, I would say pretty much over the whole voyage, unlike some of our other some more Indonesian programs, it doesn't have a lot of diving and snorkeling in it. It has a lot of land-based activities and experiences, although it does have opportunities for snorkeling and diving in Verde Island, Marinduque, Pulau Island, and in Miri. They'd be the main locations where we can offer snorkeling and diving. But what it does have in terms of the land-based activities are some really really interesting places. In Marinduque, we go to this great place called Boa, who have this really interesting festival. We just call it the Marione Festival, and you have a massive big wooden head mask. It's all about Easter. It's all about suffering. So we go to see the traditional mask makers. We go and see the traditional armor makers, and it's one of them more. I mean, Philippines is full of festivals. So it's one of the unique experiences that we have. We won't experience a festival because we're not there at that time, but really just having a look at the craftsmanship and learning about the stories for this particular location. Culion Island is also interesting, and an interesting stop because it was only recently that it was declared leprosy free, and it was actually an island that was sold to America, I think, for 20 million USD. So a lot back in the 1900s. So consequently, because of leprosy on this island, there's a very high preservation of early 1900s and 1850 to 1900s buildings in the area. And they've actually just redone the museum there, which we'll go and visit, which gives a really fascinating history and heavily documented. So any great history buffs, it's a fabulous location to learn more about the island and its place in the world. And it's actually, I think it was in 2008, it was inscribed into UNESCO. What is it? It was a Living Memory Museum or something like that it's called, but very, very interesting location. And then we head down the coast and we head into Puerto Princesa. It's quite a busy little morning. We're going to head over to the UNESCO and World Heritage listed underwater cavern. So it'll be an early start to the morning, but incredible experience to actually to enjoy before we depart the Philippines and head down into Malaysia. So Kota Kinabalu, we've got our signature dinner there where we'll be visiting Mari Mari Cultural Village, and great opportunity for you to get really an understanding of the 8 ethnic groups that exist in Sabah, Borneo as well. And then we head down into Brunei. Brunei, we'll go and visit one of the longhouses in the Iban, for the Iban people. A waterfall. We'll also have a bit of a look around town, and you may have heard of Kampung Ayura, which is a floating village, fascinating village. Before we head on to Miri, we've got lots of excursions there. You can go to Lumbi Hills National Park for a walk there, near caves, massive cave system. Or if you are a mad keen diver, we've got the UNESCO listed Siberut dive site that we're also offering an experience to as well. And finishing in Kuching, we're going to go and see the orangutan at Semongo, also the Bacoa National Park. So hopefully we can see the proboscis monkeys, and just 7 different ecosystems in Bacoa National Park. So fascinating place to visit. We've got experienced bird guides to come with us in Kuching as well, because it's such an interesting place with the ecosystem, and a whole range of walks there for all mobilities. Yes, Will, so sorry, I didn't even ask you to move the slide. I've just talked off that slide. So we'll run through all the pictures afterwards, and I'll tell everybody where it is. So yes, okay, Verde Island. This island here is the centre of the centre of the centre of the Coral Triangle. So amazing diving and snorkeling here, and a fascinating small fishing village as well, which we'll go and visit. Thank you. And here I was talking about the Marione Festival. These are the big wooden masks that they wear during a whole week as a part of the suffering of Easter. And a fantastic, beautiful ancestral home, great architecture in Boac. So we'll have a bit of free time in the town as well, and also visit, take a guided tour of the cathedral. Thank you. Culion Island, this is the leprosy island. So as you can see, this is a small example that's one of the views that we'll be taking a bit of a walk up to. Not that you have to walk up there, but just a bit of an example of the type of architecture, that Spanish architecture we can see there, that still exists on the island. Thank you. Paro and Johnson Island. So this is just one of the stops. We'll have an afternoon at one of the islands on the way from Kulon to Palawan, basically for a lovely afternoon of snorkeling, swimming, and beachcombing. Thank you. And yes, in through there, the underground caverns. So I urge you all to, if you haven't had a look already, have a look online to see what this incredible cave system is, which you'll actually be able to visit on this voyage. Thank you. Cultural village, yeah. So we've got it's set up like a market style, so you'll be able to wander around and see, engage with all the different Indigenous groups at your leisure before a longhouse dinner of traditional and sort of more westernised dishes as well. Bit of a blend for everybody. Thank you. Brunei, yes. So we've got the 2 days there in Brunei. So one will visit the longhouse, the Iban longhouse out in the jungles, and the other will do a bit of a city tour and photo stops at quite a few of the locations there. And I'm also trying to see if we can get to the Polo Club for an afternoon tea, which is an amazing place, the Polo Club in Brunei. Thank you. And here we have in Miri, so there are the Nia Caves, massive cave system. As I say, we've got 3 excursions on this day, so it'll be hard to choose which one you want to do, but unfortunately you can't do them all. It's either one or the other. Thank you. Bucko National Park, that's actually my picture. It's not a very good one, I'd say. I've taken ages ago. If you haven't been to Bucko, beautiful location, and we'll spend a significant part of the morning there. It's tide dependent access into this location, but it really is a fantastic experience. Thank you. And the Kuching wetlands. So right next to where our anchorage will be in Santoubong, very early in the morning. We'll get up very early and take the explorers out on a cruise through the wetlands, hoping to see a range of animals, particularly the proboscis monkey, the Thomas leaf monkey, a whole range of hornbills. It's just alive. It's a cacophony of sound. It's a very, very evocative place that time of the morning. And then we're going to shoot off to Singapore after that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nikki. And look, and just rapidly moving on to our next itinerary, as I'm very aware that we are rapidly moving through our kind of allocated 45 minutes. So our next itinerary, into the wilds of Borneo. So 16 nights, Singapore to Makassar over in Sulawesi. Departing 24th of December this year aboard, again, Coral Geographer. So perfect if you want to avoid that kind of traditional family Christmas this year. So again, over to you, Nikki.
Thank you very much. Yeah, this is another fantastic voyage, and I think that if you really like wildlife and are very interested in getting quite in depth into the culture of Kalimantan, then this is a great voyage for you. I won't go over Kuching again because we'll be doing similar experiences to the voyage previously. Pontianak is a beautiful little town. So in Pontianak, there's an amazing little village called Kampung Benting, and I was actually just speaking to one of the community organisers there this morning, and they're actually going to start a mural for coral expeditions, which you'll be able to paint on in the village. The village is known for its mural art, and so we'll have one that all of the guests from Coral can paint on, which is pretty exciting and a very nice gesture on their behalf. Then we're going to head around into Kumai. This is where we'll be going into Tanjung Punting to go and see the orangutan. We'll be doing quite a few boat trips in. We'll be transferring out of our explorers into much smaller klotoks, they're called, vessels to go further up the river. And we'll be doing quite a few sort of tributary explorations as well, and which is why the Explorer is so fantastic. We do have these options to be able to get into locations that really others can't. So it's an exciting few days in Kumai for sure. And then we're going to head over to Bawean Island, where there's a bit of a hike opportunity here if you wanted to. It's about a sort of 3-kilometre hike up into a caldera on Bawean Island, swimming opportunities as well. And then we head into Banjarmasin, and here is the amazing floating market. You'll have to get up super early for it, but it'll be well worthwhile because you can sleep in the afternoon. I've also arranged a visit to the proboscis monkey rescue centre, which is also in Banjarmasin. So that's a very exciting opportunity for us as well. So a lot of wildlife on this tour, and a lot of quite unique cultural engagements that are quite different from some of our other voyages. And then we head into the wonderful Makassar as we finish our voyage. Thank you, Will.
Thank you, Nikki. And just a few of the highlights. So back to Bucko National Park again.
Yes, beautiful Bucko. Thank you. We might skip through these. The Caramata Islands. Yeah, this is New Year's Eve. We'll be here in the morning. So we'd have a nice lazy morning and celebrate on ship later on in the afternoon. There we go, orangutan, and there's a picture of the klotok up in the top right-hand corner there. Thank you. Pondok will be going there our second day in Kumai, another feeding station in the hope to see some more orangutan and meet with the researchers. That's in Kumai. Thank you. Bowen Island, always a welcome. Beautiful sandbar. Hope the tides are right for us when we get there. It'd still be beautiful anyway. Plenty of beaches to swim from there. Thank you. And the amazing market that we've got to get up early for. As you can see, well worthwhile. Bring your small denomination rupiah with you. So we'll be in local boats as well. So you'll be able to purchase some morning goodies. There's often a lot of crafts as well if you're interested in purchasing crafts. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. And on to our final kind of featured itinerary today. It's a full circumnavigation of Sumatra. So 18 nights, Singapore to Singapore. So very easy kind of in and out access, departing in late November this year. And again, aboard Coral Geographer. So over to you, Nick.
Thank you. So this voyage actually abuts our Manila to Singapore voyage. So and then basically once we're going back to Singapore and then we head off to Makassar. So that's how all three voyages fit together. You can come from Manila down to Singapore, circumnavigation of Sumatra, and then across to Makassar if you so wished. So I'll try to do this presentation correctly. Let's move on to the next picture. Thank you. Okay, Palau Belatung. This is basically our first location for a clearance into Indonesia. So we've got a half a day there. There's some beautiful rock formations there. We'll have a bit of a swim. It's nice to get into the water after a day at sea, and we'll have a welcome and sort of a wander through these quite unique rock formations. Thank you. And then the Ujong Kulon National Park. We've been here a few times for coral. We've got some fantastic guides that come and meet us in the park. And this is the location of the black rhino. So as yet, we haven't seen a black rhino, but we have seen footprints. But there's amazing bird life, a lot of wild deer. The geography sort of changes between thick jungle with, tributaries running through it to sort of flatlands. And there's a bit of a rise where you can walk to it and have a bit of a look out. So quite a few options there. But yeah, an amazing location and well worth, looking out for the black rhino. Thank you. And then we head into Tambling National Park. Now, this national park is also home to tiger sanctuary. So what we'll be doing, we'll be engaging with the researchers. They've got some sort of jeeps, land jeeps, unlike our explorer jeeps of the sea, land jeeps that we can sort of wander through the national park with to try to spot some, obviously more animals than just the tigers, but talk to the researchers about, some of the push-pull impacts of why this location actually exists, how they've worked with the local villagers over the sort of generations these days, and transforming, the local approach to forest services and just working with them, a lot of employment for the local villagers as well. So quite an interesting location. They also have an amazing lighthouse which we can wander around and have and if you choose to wander up, I think it's about 285 steps to go and have a look as well. But that'll be a fantastic day at the Tumbling National Park. Thank you. Okay, the Enggano Island. So the tour itself, I think, overall for Sumatra is so interesting. And the reason is because there are so many different ethnic groups that comprise what we call Sumatra. So as you can see, if you look at the map of the voyage, you can see we sort of weave in and out of the coast and the mainland all the way up and around into Medan across the top. So really every time you can see, we're actually away from the mainland, we're experiencing a different culture, different cultural welcome, different music, slightly different food, different types of, traditions that they have. And from each of these islands, we'll be aiming to really capture each of, the microcosms of the particular ethnic groups as we cruise up the coast. And so the Enggano and Dua Islands are a couple of those islands in which we will follow that sort of thematic all the way around to the top. Thank you. Okay, Bengkulu. So, I mean, as you know, there's a lot of history. We've got the Dutch, we've got the English, we've got the Chinese, as well as all the traditional ethnic groups of the island as well. So each of these locations, Bengkulu and Padang, have been chosen because they represent sort of the cosmopolitan unity of all of these influences. So in each location, we'll have a look at slightly different things. In Bengkulu, it's a look at some of the colonial architecture, whereas in Padang, it's sort of more of a wander through the old Chinese architecture and through the port houses, which, you know, are still really architecturally interesting. Thank you. And Padang, as I mentioned. And actually, we are going to go and see the mosque. I think the Sumatra, which is this one here, is a beautifully architectural design. We'll also go and speak to some, they have the traditional medicine. We'll learn about traditional medicine and also batik in each of these land-based stops in Padang and Bengkulu. Thank you. And here we are in Nias. Nias is a sort of one of the early villages that retains a lot of its early architecture and cultural customs. Majority of Nias is actually in the hinterland. You know, it would take, you know, quite a while for us to get there if we could find the transport for our ship to actually, for all of our guests to get there. But we're going to have our gala dinner here, and it'll be a really great celebration of the warrior culture of the local villages, with a lot of traditional food, dancing, and just a really sort of authentic experience. Thank you. Banda Aceh. So we'll go on, you know, with where the tsunami came through. It was in 2004, I think, 14, can't remember, 4. So we'll go and have a look at the museum that honours the tsunami museum, and really sort of get a bit more under the skin of Banda Aceh, you know, which is under Sharia law, and represents a very, very interesting part of Sumatra and Indonesia as a whole. Thank you. And then we finish in Medan. A bit of a boring picture, that one. Medan is far from boring, very, very interesting. So, and once again, because of the confluence of the various cultures that have, you know, dominated or actually exist within Medan, it's a bustling and vibrant city with a range of architectural differences. So we'll go on a bit of a beach hack ride and have a look at some of the, you know, sort of the, I'd say it was, you know, Art Deco or Nouveau architecture through to some of the modern architecture as well. But it's a fantastic city, very, very vibrant, that it doesn't really, not really represented by this picture, but yeah, great spot, Medan. And that's on the map, that's called Belawan, and that's our last stop for Singapore.
Thank you very much, Nikki. And I'm just going to play a really short video just to kind of finish this presentation, guys. So whilst you're watching it, and it's only just over a minute long, if you've got any kind of questions that you'd like to ask either myself or Nikki, please just pop them into the chat function on your computer. If I can't get to all of them, I will respond to you all directly after this presentation. So enjoy the video. What I will get you to watch out for here is particularly the boarding and onboarding procedure of our Explorer tenders, and how, you know, super easy it is, which is, you know, a real kind of point of difference with Coral Expedition. But this is kind of a day in the life of Coral up in the islands of Indonesia. Okay. All right, I'm having a bit of trouble. Apologies, it's not letting me play this. So that's not ideal. Apologies, and I will get that fixed. We send a recording of this presentation off to everybody that's registered, guys. So I'll get the video sorted prior to distribution, so you can watch it there, as it is a nice little one. So look, just moving on to some questions. I know I had a couple pre-submitted and a couple who've already chucked a few into the chat function. One for you, Nikki. Free time for shopping. Didn't specify the itinerary, but there's a few keen shoppers out there. You're on mute.
Yes, definitely free time for shopping. So what we've done is we've picked locations where there are a really great option for souvenir shopping. So across all of the voyages, we have put in free time, and I've also gone to great lengths to find out where the best places for souvenirs are. Often the villages that we go to will have items that you can purchase. So it's always, the ship doesn't carry any local currency whatsoever. We always try to get you to an ATM as early on the voyage as we can, but sometimes it's just not possible. But I do think, bring rupiah with you. Yep. So yes, souvenir shopping. It's definitely in all of the programs.
And segue quite nicely, another one for you, Nikki. Local food, obviously it's fully catered and all-inclusive kind of onboard experience. Outside of the signature dinners that you've mentioned, the opportunities to, go through some markets and taste the local produce.
Yeah, for sure. We love the market. So we've picked some of the sort of more vibrant markets along the way that we'll go and visit. Anytime we're wandering around in Indonesia, there's always food available. So you're always, and our guest lecturers and expedition team are, they love their local food as well. Sometimes in the villages we'll put on local snacks as well. So where we're a bit more remote, we'll put local snacks in the afternoon. So there is the opportunity to, grab a walk and eat bag as you go along.
And last question for you, Nikki. A couple of people have mentioned that, again, you mentioned Sharia law. Is there any kind of recommendations on kind of clothing, when we visit mosques and places like that?
Yeah, for sure. Essentially, it's respectful clothing, the same you would wear into any religious institution. So basically, shoulders covered, knees covered. That's the extent of it. I would always recommend a shawl or sarong of sorts if you need to sort of pop it over your head, but there isn't any, full dress or any, there's no burqa style required, should I say.
Awesome. And a question that I can answer. So a couple of people, and I always get asked this, is what's your onboard Wi-Fi like? So if you'd asked me that kind of 12 months or so ago, I'd say look pretty terrible, particularly the kind of the more remote regions that we go to. About 12 months or so ago, we invested a large amount of money, not that Elon Musk needs it, but with his Starlink Wi-Fi technology. And the Wi-Fi on board now is genuinely excellent. So as part of your included paid fare, you'll get our kind of standard Wi-Fi, which should be more than capable of allowing you to keep in touch with friends and family, post videos and reels, that type of thing. If you're one of those unlucky people that has business and work commitments and needs to jump into meetings, I would probably suggest you upgrade to our premium service, which does come at an additional cost. But that allows you, and I've experienced it myself actually, that allows you to stream Netflix if you, God forbid, you want to, but you're not going to have the time. But it just provides that, excellent levels of Wi-Fi. But the standard included Wi-Fi that comes with your fare, is going to be good enough for kind of 9 out of 10 people on board. A couple of you ask about physical challenges, and Nikki, feel free to jump in. But what I will say is that the coral expeditions kind of demographic that we appeal to are usually, and there are always exceptions to this, but usually in the kind of 50, 55 plus age range. We usually have a medium age in the kind of early 60s. So we cater accordingly. So when we do go on a particular shore excursion, we will offer a variety of options that kind of fit all kind of physical capabilities. So if we are going for a particular hike somewhere, we'll have a strenuous bit of a physical challenge, which some people like, but we'll also be able to complement that with a more gentler walk or a beach cave in the local area using the explorers, or like I say, sometimes if you don't want to jump onto land and join one of our shore excursions, we can utilize those unique explorer tenders and our zodiacs to provide you with a bit of a cruise through the kind of creeks, rivers and coastlines of the various areas we go to. And just one more question, as I'm very consciously hitting our 45-minute window. Luggage restrictions. So I get asked this pretty frequently. Look, we don't have any luggage restrictions on board. And when I've joined the ship previously, I've seen people, turning up for a 2-3 week cruise with a tiny little suitcase, and I've seen people turning up with literally 6 or 7 suitcases and everything in between. So it's completely up to you. We do offer laundry services on board, and as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, there's absolutely no expectation that you have to dress for dinner, so you can leave those dinner jackets and kind of ball gowns behind. It's relaxed, it's informal on board experience. But like I say, you can bring as much or as little luggage as you would like. Look, that pretty much brings us up to the.
Will,
Sorry,
I've got one question. A message was asked on the Manila to Singapore voyage. Do we see orangutan? Yes, we will go to a location in Kuching, Semangot National Park, where we hope to see orangutan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I know I've had a couple more drop through, but look, we've run out of time, but I will reply to you guys directly after this presentation direct. Look, so thank you for joining us today, and we really appreciate it. As you've seen from the presentation, the aim is just to give you a little bit of a kind of sneak peek at what we do and where we go and how we do it, and provide that kind of true expedition experience. Please jump onto our Genuinely Excellent website. We give you full detailed day-by-day itineraries. We've got a massive range of photos, videos, and please peruse to your heart's content. But again, if you've got any questions at all, you can reach out to us at the Explore at email address, or the 1-800 number, or again, please reach out to your travel agent and they can ask those questions on your behalf. Thank you very much for joining us today. If you already booked on one of these 3 cruises that we've kind of covered today, you're going to have a fantastic experience. If you're just kind of considering your options, hopefully we've inspired you to head aboard with Coral. Me and Nikki are a little bit biased. We work for the company, but it's a truly fantastic company. And we've been, we really provide that kind of true blue Australian style of small ship expedition cruising, low guest numbers, so we don't overwhelm the kind of fragile communities and flora and fauna, environmental sites and places that we go. So hopefully we will see you on board soon. Thank you very much. Big thank you to you, Nikki. I really appreciate that. Please enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and we'll hope to see you on board soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.